She stood there, shifting nervously on her feet, her old scuffed shoes peeking out from under her long dress. The soles were worn thin, the leather cracked at the edges. She knew they didn't belong in the elegant cafe filled with polished floors and soft piano music. But she had come straight from work, too afraid to be late for her first date in years. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the strap of her purse and whispered, almost to herself, "I'm sorry about my shoes, they're all I've got right now." Across the table, he looked at her for a long moment. Not with judgment, not with pity, but with something else. Something gentle. "They walked you into my life," he said softly, smiling. And in that moment, something inside her broke, a quiet wall of insecurity that had been built over years of surviving, not living. Her name was Emily. She worked double shifts at a laundry in downtown Toronto, trying to pay rent on a tiny apartment she shared with her younger sister. Most days were the same: steam, detergent, heat, and exhaustion. Love was something she'd stopped believing in a long time ago. When her coworker signed her up for a dating app, for fun, she laughed. But when she matched with Daniel, something about his messages felt different. He didn't talk in cliches. He asked real questions. He remembered small things. When Daniel invited her for coffee, she almost said no. She didn't have nice clothes. She didn't have time, but something told her to go. So she did, straight from work, with detergent stains on her sleeves and her old shoes on her feet. Daniel was a software engineer. He lived a life that looked polished from the outside, a steady job, a nice condo, weekend hikes. But behind that calm smile, he carried his own scars. 2 years ago, his fiancée had died in a car accident. Since then, he'd been living like a ghost, functioning, but empty. Meeting Emily wasn't planned, but when she sat across from him that day, nervous yet genuine, he felt something shift quietly inside him, like light creeping into a dark room that had been locked too long. Their first conversation was clumsy but warm. She laughed when she shouldn't have, he fumbled with his coffee spoon. But the sincerity in her voice, the honesty in her eyes, it made him listen. When she talked about how hard life could be, but how she still believed in small joys like sunsets or her sister's laughter, he found himself nodding, almost painfully aware of how long it had been since he'd felt that kind of hope. They started seeing each other often. Sometimes they'd walk along the harbor, Emily in her old shoes, Daniel matching her pace as if it were the most natural thing in the world. One night, she apologized again, this time for not being someone more. She told him she wasn't educated like him, didn't have savings, didn't even know what the future would look like. Daniel listened quietly before taking her hand. "You don't need to be more," he said. "You already are." But not everything was easy. His friends didn't understand. "You could be with anyone," they said. "Why her?" And Emily, overhearing once by accident, cried herself to sleep. She almost stopped answering his messages, thinking maybe love wasn't meant for someone like her. But Daniel didn't give up. He showed up at her workplace one rainy afternoon, holding a small paper bag. Inside was a pair of new shoes, simple, comfortable, nothing fancy. She looked at them and felt her heart twist. "I can't accept these," she whispered. "I don't need pity." He shook his head. "These aren't a gift," he said. "They're a promise. Because wherever you walk next, I want to be there too." Tears filled her eyes. She hugged him, the smell of detergent and rain between them. For the first time, she let herself believe that love didn't always arrive dressed in perfection. It sometimes came to people with tired eyes, rough hands, and old shoes. Years later, on their wedding day, Emily walked down the aisle wearing those same old shoes, not because she couldn't afford new ones, but because they had carried her through everything that led her there. Daniel waited at the end of the aisle, eyes glistening, remembering that first day when she had apologized for them. When they stood together, hands intertwined, he leaned close and whispered again, "Just like before, they walked you into my life." And she smiled through her tears, realizing that love isn't about what you have, it's about what you give, and what you're willing to walk through together. The story of Emily and Daniel became a quiet reminder that in a world obsessed with appearances, sometimes the most beautiful things are born from imperfection. Because the truth is, it's not the shine of your shoes that matters, it's the steps that brought you to someone who sees the journey behind them. And somewhere in Toronto, under a sky fading into soft gold, two people who had once been broken walked home hand in hand, proof that love, real love, doesn't care how you arrive. It just cares that you do.